Hi, in this video, we will be looking at Tier 3 processing urban waters. Now, some roads have certain shapes, and these shapes have a function because they catch water. We call this the urban drainage. So here you can see the water pathways in the roads, and you can see the roof as well. It allows water to trickle down. There's something we call the water footprint, which is the amount of water that you consume in a specific amount of time. Here it's per day. This is my water footprint that I try to calculate. So in whichever way we want to try to save water. So from the wicked problems of a project that I designed for the city of Rotterdam, there was a problem with water. I will share more with you over here. Now, so here's the problem, the context of the problem for rising water levels from precipitation in Rotterdam. This is Rotterdam. This is the expected change in water levels in 2050. So the parts that are in over here, this is showing an increase in the size of the water bodies over here. So Rotterdam is actually at the end of Europe. So all of the water from Europe ends up there, and basically it's next to the sea. And it's below sea level. That's the problem. So it's connected to the rest of Europe, and rising sea levels and river water level is increasing, and more rain. So that's the problem. No, sorry. Now, there's also a problem with drinking water accessibility and the increased need for drinking water. And so this map shows the areas of easy access in dark, in green, costly access, and in gray, problematic access. Now, we want to build homes that allow us to catch water in them and allow us, and we want streets that allow also the roads to catch water. So for the consideration of the sustainability here, ecology, society, and economy, water and land pollution from human activity and agriculture, that's also another problem that we have. Lack of adequate green spaces and recreational facilities, problematic soil and air quality, unemployment and health issues related to bad nutrition or lack of exercises. Now, the wicked problem consideration of the economic and industrial activity. So the economic activity is fueled by the shipping movement at the port. This puts a risk on the economy, biodiversity, and life of the people in case of any accidents and catastrophes of any sort. Example, what happened in Lebanon. So the solutions that we try to look for is allocating space for river and sea level to expand, streams and peatlands and natural water filtration systems, swales to contour the land, perennials and edge species, more food forests, more rainwater catchment systems and domestic water catchment and domestic grey water catchment treatment, use roads for water collection, increase the natural land area and reallocating built spaces, shift in modes of transport, employ green buildings, renewable and sustainable energy, and have zero waste so that we don't pollute the water. When we catch water, we get benefits to the people. So for the city of Rotterdam, topographic vision, we can allocate more space for the sea and sea level to expand and use the water from the river to start food forests. Now, in the food forest area, this means we can increase the retention area, basically the space to absorb water, to replace the built area with land. So instead of having built area, we leave it as empty soil. This will absorb more water. And then we can build a food forest, 7 layers, starting from perennials closer to the river and then to hold the soil. And also we plant something called edge species because these can survive between the river and the land. We add compost and mulch to increase the soil fertility, and we can build swales for like to contour the land for water to flow in the land. And so for the water, we can, for the water management system, we can create a road network like a leaf system with a water collection system and a river network connected to a peatland and the river network connected to a food forest and a swale system. So then we have rainwater, stream, natural grey water treatment, and hydroelectric power in areas isolated from biodiversity. And we move the infrastructure away from water expansion area. We design buildings and homes with hydrophobic material so they don't absorb water. We have a rain catchment water and we have a storage water system, and we have when we use eco-friendly materials. So basically anything that shows over here green is where around the river where we can add swales. Swales are regions where we can contour the land, as I will show you now. This is how we can contour the land. We create a slope so the water goes into the land and then onto the trees, down to the roots. So these swales could be all around we contour the land. We make a slope in the land around the river, so it allows the water to go in, and then we connect these swales to streams, because streams act as, they do a filtration effect. So edge species and the edge effect over here. So basically these will increase the biodiversity and they can survive over here, both water and land. And we add perennial plants which hold which prevent erosion because of their roots, and they prevent water pollution and conserve water due to the filtration system that they provide. You can pause this and read about that. They can also lock in carbon. So floating mats, also of peatlands, also they help in controlling the fluctuation of water levels. That's why we want to add peatlands and allow peatlands to grow. In roads, we can build also these swales and these angles and make this kind of inclination in a way for water to collect on the sides and then be collected in dams. So here, meeting the water needs through a road network system by mimicking a leaf vein system. So rainwater collected goes to the streams and then to the natural treatment stage, then water body in a closed loop. So the roads are mimicking a vein system with sideways for rainwater collection. Veins in some plant leaves are resilient to damage because they contain a high density of closed interconnected loops, as we see over here. Now, so the idea is we have swales with perennials. We connect we connect them to streams with peatlands so that they control the amount of water. Streams will filter the water. Peatlands will control the water from fluctuation, and then they get collected in reservoirs over here. These are the reservoirs that they can end up going to. At the same time, we can design our roads to have this structure of in the leaf veins, and so water is flowing constantly and is being collected at the same time. So if this is the river and these are the streets, so the water is flowing in these streets at specific angles to allow them to be collected eventually into a reservoir. So here's an example here, a better diagram. So you have the river water with the road system, and that road system is connected to streams and peatlands, which is connected then to a natural filtration system with sand and stone, and then it ends up going to a reservoir. Also, reservoirs can be connected to streams because it's a closed loop, and these streams can end up going back to the river water because we're thinking of the idea of a closed network over here. Flatland can be contoured so that the water will spread under the ground. This is also called the swale system. Streams for flood control can also be used for also filtering water in a natural way. So here's an example of how a swale could be also built in the street or on the sides for controlling water runoff. This is an example of how water runoff can also happen in agriculture, so more contouring, as we see over here. So I'm choosing the city of Amman in Jordan, and this is the water footprint analysis for the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. And I use this website over here for this analysis. So the blue water footprint is an indicator of the consumptive use of water. So fresh or fresh surface water or groundwater, and basically it's used in producing a product, or for example, or for domestic use, or for agricultural use, or for industrial processes. That over here has the key, and so basically also we have green water. Green water is for crop production and agriculture, and gray water footprint is when it's an indicator that looks at the degree of water pollution associated with each step, and basically it's required to assimilate the load of pollutants based on natural background concentrations and making them acceptable for human and for biodiversity. So mainly for Jordan, it's the highest use for water is in crop production, and then for domestic use. But also there is gray water treatment. So and in this analysis, we're going to look at the environmental sustainability, social sustainability, and economic sustainability. So blue water footprint, the current context for Jordan, the sustainability for rain renewable water supply currently only meets about half of the population's water demand. Groundwater being used twice as quickly as it's been recharged. Climate change with elevated temperatures, irregular, unpredictable weather and rainfall patterns. High rate of population growth and influx of refugees from conflicts, and also loss of Jordan's rivers water reserves due to annexation by Israeli occupation. Jordan is one of the most water scarce countries in the world. Lack of water catchment systems for insufficient urban drainage and filtration systems of water in roads and buildings, lack of safe walking pavements and sidewalk space, an increasing number of cars on roads. Jordan's green water footprint we have elevated temperatures, increased evaporation for water, for crops, increased local food demands and global food insecurity, decreased number of green spaces, especially in cities that have fertile soils like Amman. Grey water footprint, sustainability. Most of the water is not recycled domestically. When it reaches the recycling process, it's already highly polluted. Used water is highly polluted due to non-eco-friendly use of materials or non-eco-friendly materials. The significance of plastics basically is not recognized. They are being dumped away, and there's higher pollution rate post-pandemic from masks, gloves, and soap and all of that. So economic sustainability, weak economic growth, absent of the decent work. Cost of water treatment, transport, distribution, and collection is relatively high and non-sustainable. Water tanks are expensive to be installed, and not everyone has access to good water quality and quantity. Social sustainability and responsibility, low water quality, domestic water is hard water and polluted and non-drinkable. Water reaches homes 2 days, this is a typo, 2 days of the week. Pre and post-pandemic, low clean water and sanitation targets, pervasive inequalities, increased poverty, and the necessity to increase awareness for the need of sustainable design and advancement in technology for water catchment and energy efficient structures, and the need to prepare and equip the youth with skills and knowledge and resilience to keep up with rapid changes for fixing the climate. So there are opportunities. Jordan has a topography that has rich soils and rocks that can store water and sequester carbon dioxide, and they allow easy flow of rainwater for catchment. So blue water. We have also a variety of different soil types, as the map shows over here. So this vision is going to be a vision that looks at sustainable urban planning, greening businesses, awareness, and education for until the year 2100. So catching fresh rainwater, storing it and distributing it, recycling grey water, saving water, empowering the people and educating them, nature-inspired models, business and industries and households support water catchment, agriculture, improving agriculture techniques through permaculture, improve climate and rain patterns, clean water to human and biodiversity, material and energy efficiency, which is an indirect way of saving water, and timeless design. So this is going to happen in everywhere in Amman. as we see, and anytime, summer, winter, and up until 2100. So green building design reduces energy and reduces water, and also provides with food. A rainwater catchment system should be installed for every building, and this is a shape that is inspired by the shell, or connected to gutters could take this shape, and also catching rain can also be inspired by this shape, or by mimicking nature. And this is also another way for sheltered rainwater collection. Grey water treatment could happen also on every level domestically. So the used water from bathroom and kitchen can be used again for different purposes. This is another natural way of doing it. And designing the house for, depending on the climate of the region, whether temperate or arid, for saving energy and water, and using vertical gardens to improve grain patterns. Also, domestic wise water use and upcycling of materials. And also in the bathroom, the design of the bathroom could allow the water from the sink to go directly to the toilet, and saving water while showering or bathing. Versus bathing, and then using composting as a way to increase soil fertility, and so hence reduce the green water evaporation, and also for using upcycling waste to also reduce the indirect use of water for blue water, and reducing water footprint by not using cars and working from home days, and applying the smart city technology for reducing access, movement through transportation. If we build a dam, it could be connected to a swale system, and then to ponds, and then to crops. So and then also applying the gray water treatment system. Now, if there is no rain, we could apply fog catchment systems, which could be inspired by nature. This shape shows hydrophilic and hydrophobic, and also super hydrophobic combinations over here, where they can also take the geometry that nature takes, and by this they could be collected in tanks. And this is the fan shape as well, so they could be, so if we mimic these shapes and geometries, we basically can collect more water. This shape basically has been mimicked with a 9 to 10 meter high prototype, which was also being done in Bilbao, Spain. And this is another prototype that's been made from upcycled plastic and wood, which is something really good for the pollution or grey water sustainability. And also this is another shape that mimics the shape of the spider web. So these threads allow water to move and channel it downwards in different angles. So this is another shape that shows the net fog catcher in Morocco. And also the design of the roof and the gutter could allow water to trickle down and be collected down. So this is an example of how the house can collect water and go into tanks. This is an example of a roof that can collect water as well by allowing it to trickle down, and it can be collected on the other end to tanks. Many students looked at the beetle. I recommend that you look at the beetle for an inspiration for water collection.
Life has ingenious ways of meeting its needs. In the Namib Desert, there's very little groundwater, but there is a fog that comes in a few times a week. And there's a tiny black beetle that climbs up to the top of a dune, stands on his head, lifts his wing scales up into that flow. And on these wing scales, there are bumps. The tips of the bumps are like magnets for water. The sides of the bumps are waxy. So fog comes in, begins to aggregate on the tips, the water runs down the trough and into the critter's mouth. This is being mimicked now in fog catching nets that are 10 times better than the fog catching nets we currently have. In fact, there's a company that is putting this surface on the inside of water bottles to create a self-filling water bottle. Water is the new oil. It's what nations will be fighting over, unfortunately, being able to pull water out of air. That's one of the more exciting biomimetic areas.
The reason why water collects on the surface over here of the beetle is because some parts are these bumpy parts, the tips, are hydrophilic, so they like water, they attract water just like glass and metal. Whereas over here, it's a waxy layer that is hydrophobic. So the water collects over here, and then it trickles down because of gravity, but it falls. What helps it fall down is the hydrophobic waxy material over here, and so forth. And so the water continues to go down to the mouth of the beetle. Now, there is a height difference. So there's a gravitational potential difference over here, and therefore the water will fall down. And this is basically how the material that we use now for like a fog catchment system, it's very even solar panels, because they have glass. So in the morning you find there's a lot of water from the morning dew collecting on it. So if we have a gutter connected to that, that water could be collected, and then it can water plants, or could be collected for whatever reason, washing. But it's in the morning, if you see cars on the body of the car, there's always water collecting. So it's a very easy, cheap way of collecting water. And actually some countries, in Morocco, they've been doing that. And it's something really easy but genius at the same time. So walking and cycling versus the use of cars, and also in apply curfews. That's another strategy that we could do, strategies on cars. And sidewalks could participate in catching water for urban infiltration, and basically build swales in the roads, as shown over here. And this is another example, and employ soils in improving the rain and patterns of the climate. So basically, the soil could sequester also water, or keep water. Now, rainwater collection system in roads could design the roads and the collection system to look like the leaf or veins in a human blood system. So basically, these are loops and networks that can work as feedback loops, and so any fluctuations in the flow will allow damage to be restored. And this shape is also taken from nature, this geometry. And so if we have any elevated land, like the topography in Jordan, this works very well. So any nested shapes as these will allow the storing and distribution of water, storage and distribution of water. So the evaporation of water from land plays a very big role in green water catchment. So basically, we need to mulch more to water less, and plant the plants that basically store water underneath them. This is an example in the soil. So, and also therefore we need to invest in neighborhood allotments, in eco parks and rooftop gardens. And basically encourage the youth and schools and families to take part in greening the city. So the concept also of the principle of edge effect, so basically having water catchment system along, like a pond, along next to a garden with a swale system, basically is a win-win situation. But the geometry for me, I'm looking here at the geometry taken from the golden ratio, this shell. And basically, this is an example where we have swales, tanks, spiral garden, mini swales, food forests. Many food forests could be employed on the contour, and trees on berms, mulching, gutters, and all of these could be just taken from this shape. Need a top, bottom, and bottom up approach. So policymakers and the people need to be involved in greening businesses, homes to save water for direct and indirect use. So set codes for house and buildings to install energy saving equipment, and employ green architecture. Request that electrical goods are being re-licensed again, so cradle to cradle. Assign codes to remove excessive packaging from vegetables and fruit shops, and relax taxes to encourage these processes. And tourism and retreats can support permaculture schools and educate more about how it's done. Invest and support local agriculture, support polycultures, support equestrians, animal and bird shelters to increase biodiversity, and encourage the environmental and sustainability NGOs, support cycling shops. And for factories, shops, and companies, they promote, we need to promote the use of recycled material and innovation in energy and material efficiency in recycling. Promote innovation in making bioplastics. Request and support local factories to make rewashable gloves, especially for the pandemic, and limit and ban the selling of disposable gloves. And basically encourage for fashion, the fashion industry, second-hand shops and sustainable fashion, codes and laws for factories and importing companies to collect containers for the products that they produce, and basically bins for separating the waste and reusing it. Encourage second-hand, support the public and businesses to make eco-friendly products. And set limits on paper consumption in schools and offices and replace it with e-books and e-services and e-receipts. Make channels and educational series and documentaries and social platforms to educate and raise awareness. Technical schools to support water catchment and sustainability in general. Start education sustainability centers and organizations. Professional development programs for all ages, and for education for sustainability, focus on green chemistry, green architecture, and certified workers, and also tweak the curriculum and change the curriculum to meet the climate resiliency requirements, and water catchment and water treatment systems need to be a prerequisite. Teach marine biology, forestry, and permaculture, and much more, and involve primary and middle school, and raise awareness about the importance and the active role of agriculture in our lives, and how it's improved our immunity and health. And also use art, photography, theater, and music, and cinema, and street ads to TV and radio stations in order to help educate for about these matters and for sustainability.